Well, good morning, everyone. We are moving right along with our book study. Chapter 12, The Discovery Stage. We're getting really into the meat of the book. This has so much content and really worth stretching the book study over a week or two, or maybe even three. The best thing about this book study is to go slow, read it, integrate it, practice it. Practice, practice, practice. And I plan to continue with the practicing. But to lead us through this chapter 12, Phyllis, our wonderful Calgary leader, will be leading us through this chapter 12, the Discovery Stage book study. So Phyllis, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Sheila. Chapter 12, the Discovery Stage. All right. Let's move on to the next slide there, please. Got beautiful black and white here. Want to have some nice background. It's all good, though. So what's really interesting is that, like Sheila's saying, this is one of the discovery stages. Big. It takes us right through from when we're first speaking to people, as well as right through to the presentation itself. And like he's saying here, psychologically, people buy us first, and we hear that over and over, but it is true. If you get a good feeling from another person that they're listening, or listening to myself or to ourself, then people really are more engaged and they feel cared about. So as they say, people care more about who you are than what you know. So that initial step, that's a good. That's okay. No one knows that. So they buy us first. So really what's important here is that we want them to know that we're listening to them, that we're responding to their needs, that there's an understanding and there's respect as well. So what happens then when that last comment there, the depth of history expands, when there's trust, people will open up more. And they will open up to the degree that they feel. Now, the timing, of course, is important. You're not doing it in a busy staff room or something, but it can be quite surprising when a person will tell you personal things within their own life of what is influencing them right now. So the depth of the history expands, the more there's a feeling of trust. So really, this takes courage, I feel that this one does, identifying the emotional reason behind the need. And when we keep in mind that when we're prepared and know what it is that our basic focus is what is the reason behind that emotional reason? Sometimes people don't really know. They just know that they hurt, or that they're uncomfortable, or they're unhappy. And sometimes I find that people aren't always reflecting and thinking necessarily of their life. They're just busy solving, or thinking they're solving, or trying to put the fires out. But really, when we understand the reason behind the need, then it gets them thinking about it. And particularly to this part, the purpose of this really is to determine if we can be of service, if we have a solution that is there for them. I'm just checking my book here to see if there's so what we really want to do too is by asking some feeling questions. So really, the important thing here, I'm just looking at the bottom of page 185 as I have different highlights in my book here, is that we want to, we don't want to talk about ourselves too soon. And I found I've gotten a lot better at that more recently. I'd recently met someone from my high school reunion, didn't even go to our high school, but knew quite a few people from there. Met him in person to go for a walk, presented, and he signed up right then and there. Didn't even know him. So not as a customer, which is great. And he's also coming to our Calgary open house. We're having an open house method in Calgary on Wednesday. Corporate's providing, it's free. And what's really cool then is obviously he trusted me.
Yeah.
And one thing that I learned is that I like the walking first, because that gave me the opportunity to get to know each other.
Right. I think that's a great idea that you did the walking first.
Well, he wanted to walk and he wants to lose some weight. Mm-hmm. And just, yeah, for a man, he talks quite a bit actually. But the walking before provided that basis. Then we met, we had just shared a snack. And so that was great in that we already had a basis there.
Oh, what's his name?
Doug Farrell.
Okay.
So I'd only met him once. He met, and we're, yeah, like I said, he signed up for as an associate. He's ordering some Celcentos and Precosa.
Fantastic. Good work, Phyllis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How did that feel?
You know what? I don't think, a little bit surprising, but to a large extent, I think it didn't really, because he was ready.
Ah,
He was in the looking zone.
okay.
And I was a good listener and asked questions. And yeah, asked also some questions that really create more of that inquiry or that discovery phase. So the background, like he has a business for 28 years that he's looking at, he's wanting to sell it and move into medical marijuana, actually.
Oh, well, that's a huge opportunity right now in Canada.
Well, Altadora, I'm not sure where my gymnastic club came in there, but Wednesday, you know, Alberta opened up, right? So it's legal in Alberta as of last Wednesday.
Yeah, same thing in Manitoba.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize that. So understanding his background, what kind of a business he has, and what is it that, why he wants to sell that now. So that brought up some of his areas of pain points.
Okay.
Yeah, or points of discomfort. And really, he just wants to move into something else and feels the sales isn't there as much. So because he's a smart businessman, when I presented, I also made sure to include the compensation plan as well in a really brief and easy way. So determine what his needs are, physical, his emotional needs. He's kind of lonely. So hence maybe the walk. I made sure, you know, I was clear when I phoned him, said, okay, married 34 years, going on a trip next year. I was a little bit hesitant at first, but I thought, well, you know what? Part of courage comes from being direct. So instead of assuming something, I thought, okay, well, let's go for a walk, go a place where lots of people walk, and create the trust on both ends. The consequences are, what are the consequence kind of questions? And we'll go into more of each of these. There's also from consequence, as in if you don't make a change, how will you experience that personally in your life? Then we provide a solution, and we have some qualifying questions before we move on from there. So let's look at the background questions here.
So what was his motivating factor why he joined as an associate?
He joined as a customer. He joined, yeah, but he's coming, like I say, tomorrow night, so he'll see the business side of it as well. He wants to lose weight, just overall health. He doesn't sleep that well, wants to lose some weight, wants to have better energy. He's a hard worker, gets up at 4 a.m. every day. He says by noon or 2 he's tired. Well, you're up at 4, that's pretty early. So that is his driving motivator, is just overall better energy. Getting older, he's had friends that have died. He's had some close friends die, so he wants to look after his own health and improve his quality of life. So that's his present situation as well. So, and who are you? So getting to know who really he is. And this is where the whole aspect here in our forum come in. So who he is and how did he get to this point? He got to this point, he had a couple friends die, which was really influential for him. And just seeing people at the 40th anniversary or the 40th high school reunion, I think really was also, he wanted to connect with people, see who he wants to connect. So when we look at this aspect of FORM, and then there's also S side of it as well, which is maybe new to you. This on page 193 is the first part here is you're asking about family. Finding out who his family is. Does he have kids? Not have kids? Even the influence of his parents was interesting. He spoke about that as well. We spoke about the importance of having good communication. He wants to reconnect with his dad and one of his sons he's had some challenges with. Excuse me, I'm just going to cough here. Excuse me. So the F is for family. Discover family, where they have, you know, like Ed said, even influences of the parents and growing up too. That's a factor too. It's not just, oh, how many kids do you have and what are they all doing? That is part of the connecting. But really, what is the influence of family? and perhaps even friends in there as well, like for him. Now the R is for
And what type of questions do you ask to find out about the influence of family?
Now I don't see any in here necessarily. Well, how many are in your family? Do your kids go to college is what Michael has suggested here. He's also got things like, where do you live? How long have you lived there? So where were you born? To me would be one. I don't see that listed here, but I think that's kind of a connection, because it's like, oh, I was born in Calgary too. Or I was, when we learn when someone's born, we made, wow, you were born in South Africa. That's really interesting. How did that influence you? So personally, even though it's not listed here, I would add that in.
Yeah, I think that's a good suggestion. That really does get to the root of where they're from, and then it also identifies maybe some of their belief systems, because if they're from another country,
yes,
their perspective of life, is different than ours because of their grassroots influence.
Yes, or even, for instance, like yourself, born in a, were you born in Beausejour, Shirley? I mean, Sheila?
I am. I was, and I still live here.
So that's an influence, because it tells me, okay, so you're basically in a farming community.
Yeah.
And so that is an influence right there. So I've written in on my book on the side of the questions there at 191 to add in born. Where were you born?
Mm-hmm. Good question.
Next one, occupation. So of course, what is it that you do? Who do you work for? How do you like where you're working, and how long have you been there? Also a piece here too is, do you travel to and from work? So that may be as simple as just you're driving downtown or not, or into the city or not, but also to travel out of town, because sometimes you get people, they may make great money, but man, they travel a lot. Or my neighbor travels a lot, and she ended up switching jobs, and so that she didn't have to travel as much. I plan to meet with her and her husband, her new husband from California. So I've asked her before, but I think now it's time to reapproach and see if they'd like to take a bigger look at it. And the thing too that I learned when I had met with this Doug on the weekend is keeping in mind too, I'm not there to convince or convince him. I think just because I realized, okay, let's just get to know each other here, what's important to you. That same sort of thing then is, because I'm getting to know him, that opens him up like it is. Like you said, they buy us initially, and if they like us, know and trust us, then they're going to open up to other options. Kind of dropped my thought on that one there. And then how did you get to this point? So same sort of thing. Why are you meeting me? So basically that is one of the basic questions too, is, I'm curious to know, as we sit down here, what's motivated you to get together with me here to learn about USANA? I'm writing down motivated to meet. Why? What's motivated you to meet? Because it takes time for people to meet in person.
Absolutely, it takes time for them to meet.
Yeah, absolutely. So we want to, that's part of the purpose of getting together. I mean, ideally, you can do this over the phone as well. I like face-to-face if I can, but make sure that it's a worthwhile. So when I had met with him, I had I had an expectation to share it with him and to listen. And that if it's a fit, then provide him with what he needed and pull out the form and have him fill it out, which is what I did.
Oh, that sounds like you're super prepared. Great.
Yeah, actually what was funny is I didn't have the new, I didn't have either product book, the old or the new. I didn't have the Be More book, but I did have the comparison guide. So even though I thought I was prepared, I realized, but it didn't actually matter, because I used the newspaper, and the newspaper did it as well as the comparison guide. So I adapted, right? So he's quite happy with that. R for recreation. What do you do what's a hobby? Any kind of sports you do. That can maybe influence injuries as well. So for instance, myself, if I was meeting with someone, I might comment that, I was a gymnast, a competitive gymnast. And so that might bring up the idea, so do you coach that now? Do you have any injuries? So sometimes our recreation can be related to potential injuries or areas of discomfort. Last one is, he has it here, M is for money, but what I've learned more recently, or the second last one here, is what is their motivation to? You're discovering that through this questioning process, but money as well as motivation. You know, are you motivated to make this change that requires you to maybe have a change of routine by taking supplements in the morning, taking supplements at night, and perhaps if wanting to lose weight, changing your eating habits as well. So money and motivation. So the money aspect of it is basically, do you have all the money that you would like to be able to do things you want to do? Do you have that freedom of income? Because I find that our goals and dreams are directly related to our income. And people often dream based on that, particularly as you get older. So that's an opportunity to open that door up into stating, hey, well, what if you did have this additional money? Or like with Doug, I'd stated, even though he makes great money, when he sells his business, which he's going to do very shortly here, how is he replacing that income? And he does have a plan, but it brings up the opportunity as well from multiple streams. Last one here is for spiritual. So whether this is oriented around your church or it's oriented around your beliefs of like their spiritual side could be part of the Lions Club, could also be, as he says, a metaphysical association. Lots of people now are into more spiritual-based practices as well, including myself. And so is there a community you belong to within where you live? Or do you do charitable work? So how do people donate or contribute towards the people's lives being satisfying and contributing in some way?
Well, and that spiritual side or contribution side or connecting with others side, that's where Dr. Wentz's overall vision may come into play. Like his vision, a lot of people join, not a lot, but some people join USANA because they really connect with Dr. Wentz's overall vision of a world free from pain and suffering, and a world free from, degenerative disease. So that, that wasn't the first connection for me, but that is a huge piece long term, is, making an impact and helping people with their health. So all those people who want to be helpers and want to change the world, that's the S side to explore. Okay.
That's a good reminder, Sheila. I like that. And even if they don't, I find that people, when I get feedback from people, it's important not to get too much into Dr. Wentz, because when I've listened to other people's presentations, as sometimes we're doing a sharing, that I don't really listen to the doctors that they're talking about, quite honestly, too much, because it feels like just another doctor.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so our ability to connect Dr. Wentz and his vision, but tie that right into them, or even to yourself. This is one of the reasons why I do this, because I love it when people experience changes in their life that increase their quality of life. And when it increases their quality of life, then they share it with friends and family, and you're making an influence in that way. So I like the time with Dr. Wentz. My experience has been to tie it into them, and what is it that they would like to see, maybe it changes, or in helping their family, their friends, and maybe even people at work that they know may have some challenges.
Mm-hmm. Also, when I present, I talk about Dr. Wentz and who he is in the background, and then I'll loop it back to what's important with him, let's say from a business perspective, if they're really looking for a solid business. And I talk about Dr. Wentz's experience creating a solid company that will be around to help them create their dreams or their income that they're looking for. It's basically, I loop it back to them.
Okay, that's good. I like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Or Dr. Wentz with his, he's absolute, because he's a scientist and science-based, why we're a research company, why the products are best in class. But what does that mean to them? Better health, more results, best in class products means repeat orders, products that can't be purchased from Walmart or Costco, so you have long-term customers. So kind of like, what's the impact, and how does that help that person once we find out what they're looking for, related back to all those different aspects.
Right.
versus just raving on and on and on about Dr. Wentz, because yeah, people often don't care. And I remember I did a spa party, and I was talking a little bit about Dr. Wentz, and the lady stopped me. She said, "I don't really care about any of that. I just want to know if my wrinkles will go away."
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And so really that's another point, Sheila, really, when, especially if it's face to face, we have that ability to have the body, I've forgotten the term right now, but reading the body language.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, I actually bring up that the company is $1 billion company. The products work.
Mm-hmm.
They would not have reached that level. These are products that are, yeah, so I love the science part. That's the big piece I pull out with Dr. Wentz, is the science. And they came from an environment of his dad dying, his mom dying shortly after, and really wanting to understand that.
But like you said, it's how does that piece, why is it important to them? After we find out what's important to them, how do we relate to different pieces of what you saw offers? And of course, that's the next chapter.
Right. Okay, let's look at the next slide, which might be our last slide here for today. Just looking at here then, this reflection questions. So really, just what drew you to, I apologize here for a moment while I take a quick look at this part here on page 197. So these are kind of your two paths of questions to follow. So encouraging people, really, the needs development questions, encouraging people to expand on their opinions and feelings. So that their emotions, their worries, their likes, their satisfactions, what they like, what they don't like, giving a clearer picture of what their problems are. So I did notice that the person I had met, he said, I think he said hate 3 or 4 times. And I was like, wow, okay. So some strong kind of awareness is there within him. And when helping the person, really, if they're willing and open to kind of expanding on that, that really helps you to understand their state of mind, having the opportunity as well to ask them, are they ready, really, is what you're wanting to find out too, the qualifying part at the end of the chapter here. So when it's saying here, what drew you to your present situation, and what has drawn you to us getting together, like I had said at the beginning, what is it that, what motivates you for us to get together? And what does it mean to you? Sheila, will you have a comment on this part here while I kind of take a quick look on, I'm understanding the true truths here as an aspect of it, but, okay, what drew you into this type of work? I might add into that, Sheila. I don't know if you pass on the slides here or not, but what drew you into this type of work? And so that's important too. Like, for instance, I work with kids. Well, I like the education part. I like that helping the kids to feel good about themselves. And so it's the same thing too, is understanding what drew you into that, the type of work that you do. And so that gives us an understanding of their personality and their values. When we understand their values, then we understand, okay, so you're a helper at heart, which I would say, like, for myself. So
this does help identify if we know the 4 different personality types, and most of us have probably studied a lot about the 4 different personality types, but there is the helper personality. That's what motivates them. I mean, you'll when you're asking these type of questions, you'll understand what's the underlying motivating factor for that person. Or if they're a driver, it's going to be how much, how fast, how quick, either from a health perspective or from an income perspective. Helping people is not going to be as big of a factor as the people who are those amiable types. Analyticals want more details. And then there's the, what's the fourth area? What are you, Phyllis?
I'm a mix. I'm definitely a mix of the driver and helper at heart, for sure. I want people to enjoy life. I want people to be happy.
But you're more the spontaneous person too.
I am. So that's the blue. That's the promoter.
I call it the squiggle, but I can't.
Promoter.
Promoter, yes. So it's, but which one's the predominant area? So how does that then motivate that person? So by asking these questions and understanding who they are and why are they doing what they're doing, helps you identify the personality type and what may be the, how to communicate to them when you get to the solution stage.
Yes, the solution stage, that's right, because we're offering solutions. Personally, I don't think I'm a problem solver because I don't want to be solving people's problems, but I am here to offer solutions and give them, here are all your options.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Sheila. What were the 4 personality types? The promoter, the helper, the analytical, and what was the
Driver.
Driver.
driver?
A-type.
Promoter.
A-type.
So driver, promoter,
Helper,
helper,
and analytical, the green. I do it by the 4 colors. Green is kind of analytical, red is driver, yellow is your helper, and blue is your promoter, the person that likes to have fun. Let's have fun, let's get together, let's have a barbecue, I'll show you guys what I do. We'll have some samples.
Yeah, they like to get paid to socialize. And they like the big picture too. They like the big picture, the big dream. That's what jazzes them up. The details, don't tell them the details. Just tell them like how much fun you're going to have and how much money they're going to make, and it's going to be a big party and it's going to be great. And
so really understand. Sorry, Sheila. Really understanding them is important, and often we're a mix of 1 or 2 as well, right?
Right.
We tend to have a dominant one.
And then, I mean, we're a little bit of all people, but really find the dominant personality trait.
So in this last one here, the 2 truths, why do you like what you do or where you're at in your life, and why don't you like where you're at? So that helps get some real clarifying as to their motivation to change or to make decisions that will improve their quality of life.
So, yeah, I kind of didn't quite understand what they meant by 2 truths. So what I'm understanding here is that
I've been highlighting a lot on it.
one path is the positive and one is sort of the negative. So you find what they do like and then what they don't like.
So for instance here, do you like what you do? Do you like where you live? And do you like what you have? Or people are like, you know what? I don't like what I do anymore. Oh, why is that?
Mm-hmm.
What took you into it? And what is it? What kind of change are you looking for things that you would like? What do you like then? What would you like to be doing? Oh, you like to be around more people. And people maybe that have a purpose and a pathway, that are positive and that are eager for life. Those are the people I'm looking more for. Not the people that are just like, I am so sick. Maybe I'm so sick and tired, but it's like, are you ready for change though? Mm-hmm. So the path is then, do they like what they're doing? Do they like where they live? And do they like what they have? So maybe the car they have or the house where they're living and such. And so the other side is understanding what they don't like, because that's important. Often people will start off with what they don't like, or maybe like I said with my friend, I hate this. Mm. So once you understand, oh, okay, so you don't like how, maybe the boss or the principal runs the school in the way you don't like it. Well, and how would you change that? If you had the opportunity that you could change it, how would you change that into something that you do like? Oh, well, I would be, I would like to work for myself, actually. I would like to have more of the freedom to be able to do the work that I choose, to be able to work with the people that I want to work with, rather than having to work with maybe people that I don't get along with. And so really that's where the diversion there comes in, is what do people like and what do they don't like? And when he says it's the 2 truths, because when you, like I say, when you know what people don't like, it helps them to understand, okay, you don't like that, what do you like? What would you like? And sometimes people haven't taken the time to think that because they don't see it as a possibility. Right. They're so busy thinking, same old, same old. And say, okay, if you lived, and sometimes I'll ask the really direct questions. That's where more of my driver comes in. Say, okay, so if that's not working for you, what else do you want? What do you want in life? If you were to have, I even asked this question myself, if you were at, say, the end of your life, whether it's next week or 25 or 40 years from now, is there anything that you had wished, or what would you wish that you had done or experienced that you haven't had as of yet? That's a powerful question. That probably gets that comes from Gay Hendricks in his The 5 Wishes. Gay Hendricks, The 5 Wishes. It's on audio as well. It's fantastic, and it really draws people in. If you were at, in a serious condition, and will you wish, you know what, I wish I'd done this, Or I wish I'd experienced this. I always wanted to sail in the ocean, or I always wanted to do this. What are some of the things you wished you'd done? And explore that, because that really is quite an emotional one when you pull it right down to potential regrets, really. Do you have any regrets of what you have not done? I'm going to write that down in my book there, regrets.
And these are powerful questions. Think about all the conversations we have in life. They're all so superficial. And I know very few people who have ever personally asked me questions and truly listened. And those people really stand out in my mind. And most of those people have been NLP trained, by the way, which is what this book's based on. So when we can comprehend and implement this approach, we will absolutely stand out from the crowd of, wow, that Wendy or that Adeline or that Phyllis, they really got me. They got me to talk about, and they were listening, and like the connections will be just unbelievable on how open, and even if you don't do business with that person, for example, if you come to the conclusions that really they're not ready for what you have to offer, it's not a fit, but you will definitely impact that person in a very positive way by asking those questions and getting them to think and share.
Yeah, it's huge. And you know what? A lot of people reiterate what's happening in life. I do it myself, but I'm more and more aware. A lot of people talk about, well, this is happening, that's happening, this is happening with my friend or my family and such. And really, is that what the enjoyment of life is? A lot of it's just reiteration. And really, to me, the bigger questions are always like, wow, so how'd you feel about that? Or how's that affecting you? You're not being able to move as easily with your ankles from your accident and such. Oh yeah, that's difficult, especially with what you do. So it's a great way to really, an important way, not just talking about life. Talk about the problems, really. A lot of people, circumstantial conversations. Lots, probably like 90% of people. Okay, so we'll stop there. I've got a few minutes here to get ready before I head off to work.
Well, thank you very much.